working to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines. Chinese Coast Guard vessels allegedly harassed a Philippine vessel resupplying Filipino troops stationed in the Ayungin Shoal. Tesco is facing a UK lawsuit brought by Burmese migrants in Thailand who claim that one of the supermarket giant's former clothing suppliers used their forced labor. Prime Minister Mark Rutte has offered a formal apology on behalf of the Dutch state for the Netherlands' historical role in the slave trade, saying slavery must be recognized in the clearest terms as a crime against humanity. And Twitter users voted to oust owner Elon Musk as chief executive in a highly unscientific poll he organized and promised to honor just weeks after he took charge of the social media giant. First in our news, the Chinese Coast Guard vessels allegedly harassed a Philippine vessel resupplying Filipino troops stationed in the Ayungin Shoal. The Kalayaan Island Group is part of the Philippines' exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. The Philippines said it has sovereignty, sovereign rights, and jurisdiction over the island group. However, China has been claiming the area through a historic 9-dash line, which a 2016 arbitral tribunal ruling has invalidated. Take a look.
As reported by the Western Command, marami pong mga nakikitang violations ang mga foreign vessels in areas which we call within our exclusive economic zones. So what we do is to monitor them and report them to proper authorities because we are using diplomatic track in resolving issues or conflicts within the area.
The Philippines has already filed 193 note verbal to China seeking clarification on incidents like this. Authorities said resupply mission to Filipino soldiers stationed at the BRP Sierra Madre detachment on Ayungin would continue despite fresh tensions in the West Philippine Sea caused by Chinese Coast Guard vessels harassing Filipino supply boats. Meanwhile, Senate President pro tempore Loren Legarda have already spoken out against these harassments from China in the West Philippine Sea. She said the effective implementation of the Hague ruling is the government's duty and it's the least the government can do for the next generation of Filipinos. Take a look.
The arbitral ruling, the breach of our national territory and sovereignty. And I believe that no elected official in this chamber today would allow this to happen. And so, my simple question to the good gentleman, what is it yet, Mr. President, can we do to help our country to assert our sovereignty and our ownership of the territory that these neighbors in Asia are violating repeatedly? And how else can we help fisher folks, families and communities who live in coastal areas? The effective implementation of the Hague ruling is our duty, and it is the least we could do for the next generation of Filipinos.
We welcome them. I think, Mr. President, part of my speech is to solidify and strengthen our strategic alliances. But beyond mere courtesy visits, I think we have to engage Malaysia. We have to engage Vietnam. We have to engage the other claimants, Mr. President, to make our positions unified. And that would probably include Taiwan. Taiwan has an island, is claiming an island near that area. So if you all do this together, I think we will have more teeth insofar as asserting the 2016 arbitral award.
May I add also the request of our fisher folk in that area, if I'm not mistaken, when we had one of these security meetings, was kung pwede natin daw silang pondohan ng mga big fishing boats because they're using only very small katigs. If we can give them, maybe in the next budget, we can give them 200 large, medium-sized fishing boats so that they can also swarm the fishing boats of the Chinese. You see, they do the swarm tactic. So if there are 200 Filipino fishing boats there of medium-sized capacity in that area, very hard for them to maneuver also.
Aside from setting up territorial defense in the West Philippine Sea against harassment and incursions of Chinese vessels, the Philippines should also protect and preserve marine biodiversity. Senator Legarde said agencies like the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources must intensify their presence in the Kalayaan Islands. Thousands of fisher folk benefit from the West Philippine Sea, especially those coming from the Ilocos region, Central Luzon, Mimaropa, and parts of the National Capital Region. BFAR Director Eduardo Gongona said 324,312 metric tons of aquatic products were procured from the West Philippine Sea in 2020, translating to 7% of total fisheries production that year. In November, the Chinese Coast Guard interfered in the retrieval of space debris that fell within the territorial sea near Pag-asa Island. Now, this was after Philippine personnel earlier detected the space debris within the country's territorial waters. A retrieval operation took place, but a Chinese Coast Guard boat deliberately interfered and cut the towing line to forcibly take the space debris. The Department of Foreign Affairs issued a note verbal to China in a continuous effort to assert the sovereignty of the Philippines over claimed territorial waters and has formally filed a diplomatic protest. Meanwhile, rescuers in helicopters are scouring the Gulf of Thailand today for dozens of sailors who went missing when their naval vessel sank, hoping life jackets had helped them survive 2 nights in the choppy waters. Now, some sailors survived by jumping into a life raft at night, according to images shared by the Royal Thai Navy. First, let's look at this. The HTMS Sukhothai capsized late Sunday as it was patrolling the Gulf of Thailand. The vessel is believed to have run into trouble after its electronic system was damaged, according to the Navy. The ship's operating system stopped working, causing the ship to lose control. Earlier the day, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha said the cause of the incident was being investigated. Thai warship, the HTMS Kraburi, left port to resume the search early on Tuesday, scanning the turbulent waters for 30 missing sailors alongside other naval vessels and 2 Seahawk helicopters. Several areas in southern Thailand have been hit by storms and flooding in recent days. The Thai Meteorological Office said that strong winds were causing stormy conditions in the Gulf of Thailand, and they warned seafarers to proceed with caution and small boats to stay ashore. The HTMS Sukhothai was commissioned in 1987 and built in the U.S. by the now defunct Tacoma Boat Building Company, according to the U.S. Naval Institute. Early today, according to the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, in a bulletin issued at 7:16 this morning, FIVOC said the tectonic quake struck 7 kilometers northeast of the municipality of Kalilangan. At 5:44 a.m., it was 3 kilometers deep. Intensity 5 was felt in Amay, Manabilang, Lanao del Sur, while intensity 4 was felt in Kalilangan, Bukidnon, Kapatagan, Malabang, and Wao, Lanao del Sur, Barira, and Matanog, Maguindanao, and Cotabato City. FIVOC said both aftershocks and damage are possible from this tremor. North Korea today denounced Japan's new security strategy, calling it a serious threat against international peace that fundamentally changed the regional security environment, and warned of actual action in response. Japan outlined plans last week to drastically expand its defense capabilities over the next 5 years, including counter-strike capability in response to threats from China and nuclear-armed North Korea. Take a look.
現在の中国の対外的な姿勢、あるいは軍事動向等については、我が国のこの平和と安全及び国際社会の平和と安定を確保し、法の支配に基づく国際秩序を強化する上での挑戦と認識をしております。今後5年間で緊急的に防衛力を抜本的に強化するため、43兆円の防衛力整備計画を実施する。令和9年度には、抜本的に強化された防衛力とそれを補完する取り組みを合わせて、GDP の 2% の予算を確保する。
Japan is creating a serious security crisis by adopting the new security strategy that effectively formalizes the possession of preemptive strike capabilities against other countries, according to the North's Foreign Ministry spokesperson in a statement. Tokyo will realize it has made a wrong and very dangerous choice, it said. The spokesman warned that Pyongyang will continue to show the scale of their concern and dissatisfaction in actual action. Japan's new strategy document warns that Moscow's military posturing in Asia and cooperation with China are a strong security concern. The White House said the overhaul would strengthen and modernize Japan's military alliance with the United States. Meanwhile, Tesco is facing a UK lawsuit brought by Burmese migrants in Thailand, who claim that one of the supermarket giant's former clothing suppliers used their forced labor, according to lawyers on Monday. Now, law firm Lay, which represents the 130 claimants, said Burmese migrants were made to work up to 99 hours a week on unlawful wages and enforced labor conditions at a Thailand factory making clothes for Tesco's FF fashion range. The claimants are demanding compensation from Tesco and its Thai subsidiary at the time, Ekchai, which it sold in 2020. Now, they accuse the companies of being unjustly enriched at the expense of the adult workers. The suit will also target Intertech, the insurance and auditing group, which inspected the factory where the alleged forced labor took place. Now, if a settlement is not reached, the case will be pursued in the High Court in London, the legal firm warned in a statement. The workers were employed in the VK Garments factory in Mae Sot, northwest Thailand, between 2017 and 2020, where they cut, made, and packed garments to be sold in Thailand. They were paid a maximum of £4 or €4.60 per day, and claimed they were worked at a relentless pace for 7 days a week and lived in tiny dormitories where they slept on a concrete floor. Now, Tesco said in a statement Monday that the claims were incredibly serious and that if it had identified issues like this at the time they took place, they would have ended the relationship with this supplier immediately. 10 years ago, the brutal gang rape and murder of a young woman on a Delhi bus horrified the world and shone a spotlight on high rates of sexual violence in India. But a decade after the assault, many women are still scared to travel at night in India's capital, a sprawling metropolis of 20 million people. Take a look.
जैसे कि मान लीजिए कोई भी घटना हो गई तो या तो माँ बाप को दोष दिया जाता है या लड़की को, लेकिन कभी ऐसा नहीं होता है कि नहीं उस लड़के की गलती है, उसने क्यों किया, उसके परिवार की गलती है, उन्होंने क्यों नहीं ध्यान दिया। लड़की अगर देर रात कहीं खड़ी है तो वो क्यों गई थी देर रात, लेकिन ये भी तो पूछो कि वो लड़का भी देर रात वहाँ क्या कर रहा है।
Earlier, we were very, very hopeful. After Nirbhaya, the blessing in disguise was that we thought changes will happen, things will change, India will become safer for women. That was the very, very positive attitude I had then. I really thought this might be the last case. Nirbhaya might be the last case. But unfortunately, this did not happen. And we kept getting cases and things were very slow, procedures were very slow. Even till today, every single day, our helpline gets 5 to 6 similar cases.
Jyoti Singh, 23, was returning home from watching Life of Pi at the cinema with a male friend when they boarded a bus on the evening of Sunday, December 16, 2012. 6 assailants knocked out her male friend and dragged Singh to the back of the bus, where they raped and assaulted her with a metal rod. She and her friend were dumped for dead about an hour later. Singh survived long enough to identify her 6 attackers, but died a fortnight later in a Singapore hospital. 5 adults and a juvenile were charged with 13 offenses 2 months later, and 4 men were hanged in 2020. The main accused was found dead in his prison cell a month after he was charged in what officials suspected was a suicide, although his family and lawyer alleged he was murdered. Singh was dubbed Nirbhaya, meaning fearless, by the Indian media, and became a symbol of the socially conservative country's failure to tackle sexual violence against women. In tonight's other news, Twitter users voted to oust owner Elon Musk as chief executive in a highly unscientific poll he organized and promised to honor just weeks after he took charge of the social media giant. A total of 57.5% of more than 17 million accounts voted for him to step down. Mr. Musk, who also runs car maker Tesla and rocket firm SpaceX, has not yet reacted publicly to the results. Now, on Monday, the head of the European Parliament, Speaker Roberta Metsola, also sent a letter to Mr. Musk inviting him to testify before the legislature. The Parliament has no power to compel Musk to turn up, and his response was not immediately known. Musk has sparked upheaval and controversy since taking over Twitter in October for $44 billion, after sacking half of the company's staff, reinstating former U.S. President Donald Trump's account, dropping a policy against COVID misinformation, banning, then reinstating some journalists, and briefly blocking references on Twitter to rival platforms. He has attracted scrutiny from policymakers in both the U.S. and Europe. The European Commission has warned Musk that he risks EU sanctions over the threat to media freedom. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mark Rutte has offered a formal apology on behalf of the Dutch state for the Netherlands' historical role in the slave trade, saying slavery must be recognized in the clearest terms as a crime against humanity. First, let's listen in.
Today, I apologize. Ave mi trapidi disculpa. Tide, Miwani, Taki, pardon. Vandaag bied ik namens de Nederlandse regering excuses aan voor het handelen van de Nederlandse staat in het verleden. Postuum aan alle tot slaafgemaakten die wereldwijd onder dat handelen hebben geleden. Aan hun dochters en zonen en aan al hun nazaten tot in het hier en nu.
Now, the Dutch funded their golden age of empire and culture in the 16th and 17th centuries by shipping around 600,000 Africans as part of the slave trade, mostly to South America and the Caribbean. At the height of its colonial empire, the United Provinces, known today as the Netherlands, possessed colonies like Suriname, the Caribbean island of Curaçao, South Africa, and Indonesia, where the Dutch East India Company was based in the 17th century. Prime Minister Rutte had long resisted, previously saying the period of slavery was too far back and that an apology would ignite tensions in a country where the far right remains strong. He has now changed tack, but that has not pleased everyone. San Martin's Prime Minister Silveria Jacobs told Dutch media on Saturday the island would not accept a Dutch Dutch apology if made on Monday. Slavery was formally abolished in Suriname and other Dutch-held lands on July 1, 1863. But the practice only really ended in 1873 after a 10-year transition period. Slavery commemoration groups say any apology should come on the 150th anniversary of that date in 2023 instead of the arbitrary date of December 19 this year. And tonight's other news, 5 people are shot and killed in a condo unit in Toronto, Canada. The gunman was killed by police. Investigators describing the scene as horrendous. Yolanda Asperas reports from Canada.
A deadly shooting took place Sunday night at a condominium building in Vaughan, Ontario, Canada. As of Monday afternoon, 6 people are dead, including the gunman who has been identified as 73-year-old man Francesco Villi. The shooter was also a resident in the building, and so were the victims he shot and murdered. The shooter was fatally shot by a police officer. The active shooting was reported at around 7 p.m. on Sunday at the condominium on Jane Street and Rutherford Road. It's confirmed that the shooter used a semi-automatic handgun, but officials could not say whether it was legally purchased. Victims were found on multiple floors of the building. As of Monday afternoon, the motive for this fatal shooting has not been confirmed officially. Details of this deadly tragedy are still unfolding, and more information will be relayed as investigations are conducted by the York Regional Police and the Special Investigations Unit. Yolanda Asperas, Toronto, Ontario, Eagle News. We live in extraordinary times.
And we'll get more updates as we follow this developing story. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast of ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.